Hi, I'm Dee. I make handcrafted jewelry, and I'm going to show you how to make molds to use with polymer, metal, clay, or even resin. I have one here that's already been done. It's a mold of a shell. And as you can see, all the detail is very clear. And how you make one of these is you grab some of this, which is Siligum. It's a two-part silicone molding compound, and you can get it at art stores. And the reason I use this is because it's very quick. You can make a mold and then use it soon after. So I am going to make a mold out of an earring. And what you do is you get a little bit of one part and then the same amount of the other one. I usually make little bowls to make sure they're more or less the same size. Okay. And then you mix them together until they turn a solid color again. It takes around 30 seconds. You just mix it up. And when you're done, you have to place the object into the mold compound very quickly, because otherwise it starts getting rubbery and it won't make an impression anymore. So you should have your object at hand before you start. So that's pretty much done. I'm going to put it down, flatten it a bit, because this is a thin object, so it doesn't need a lot of depth. And try to get the size more or less right. And then I just push it in. And then I like to push around the whole object to make sure that it's fully embedded into the silicone. There you go. It doesn't matter if a little bit goes over the top of the object, because you can always trim it back with scissors later. Now you need to let it sit for about 5 minutes until it hardens. You know it's done if you pinch it with your nail and it doesn't leave an impression anymore. This is very easy to do for a flat object like this, but if you have something that's deeper, I like to do it differently. Instead of pushing the object down, I like to put the compound on top of it and press down with my fingers. The reason for this is that if you push down and you try to get it all the way up to where you want the mold to be, what happens is that you end up pushing it into the table, and so the base of the mold will end up with a hole in it. You can cover that hole later. I can show you this, for example, on this shell, which had that exact problem. It's very deep, so it didn't make a hole, but the bottom was very thin, and what happens is when you push out your clay, if the bottom's too thin, it can deform the clay and you don't get that perfect shape. So what I did was I stuck a bit more silicone on the bottom to make it thicker, and it works perfectly fine even after this had dried. And now I can push it out without making such a big dent in the middle like it used to. So we got this again. I used a bit more this time because it's thicker object, so. But still, it's not much, you know, it's the size of a fingernail, basically. These little cups, I've made dozens of molds out of them, and they're still pretty much half full, so they last a long time. Okay, so this is mixed, and now I can show you what I was talking about, which is if I do it like this and push it in, what happens is that at the bottom it may come through, and I don't want that to happen. So I prefer to just grab the object and place the silicone around it. It doesn't leave such a flat surface underneath, but at least you know it'll be thick enough for you to work it later. Which is the part that matters, I suppose. Okay. I'll raise it a bit more on this side here. And that's basically it. And then you can cut and trim the top if you need to. So now I can just set it down and leave it to rest with the other one, which is basically done by now. So I can show you how it turned out. There you go. Perfect impression. Now you should let this sit for a few minutes normally before using the mold, but I'm going to do one right away. I have a bit of polymer clay here, so I have to condition a little bit and then push it into the mold that I made. And you have to push it in. It's not quite done yet. I'm using Fimo, which is a bit harder than the other polymer clay brands, but I like to use it with the molds precisely because it's firmer, and I think that it makes it easier to remove the clay from the mold without deforming the image. If the clay is too soft, it's easy to stretch it when you pull it out. Okay, so you have to push it into every little crevice to make sure that the impression will be as perfect as you can get it. And now the advantage of this silicone mold is this: you can just pull it back, so you're not actually bending the clay, you're just bending the mold, and it releases from the clay, and the clay will have the perfect impression without getting twisted or bent. So as you can see, I just made a polymer clay copy of my earring in about 5 minutes. Well, this one's not quite done yet, I guess. Okay, my little heart. You can see the inside has the texture. And if I put a little clay there, not enough to make the whole shape, just enough to see the detail. You get a textured clay. See? So that's about it. I hope it was helpful and I hope you liked the video. And if you want to see any of my jewelry, you can visit stuffersquares.com. Thank you. Bye.